This is Adelaide's FIVEAA.
Clearing this afternoon, 28 with the 3 o'clock news. I'm Michaela Kamara.
Complete Home Filtration at Telstra Business Awards and Deloitte Fast 50 winners. CompleteHomeFiltration.com.au.
There's been a drop in new COVID cases in SA today, but 4 more people have died. 3,733 infections have been reported, down more than 1,000. There are 240 people in hospital, including 11 in ICU and 1 on a ventilator. Almost 94% of samples taken are the BA.2 variant. The Prime Minister is dismissing suggestions an interest rate rise could cost him the election. Australia's central bank is under pressure to increase the official cash rate as inflation reaches its highest level in more than 20 years. Rates haven't increased during an election campaign since 2007, when former Liberal Prime Minister John Howard lost office. But Scott Morrison says you can't compare the two.
In 2007, the cash rate was 6.5%. Today it is 0.1%. So I think to draw an equivalence between those two issues would be to misunderstand history. They are very different situations.
Labor is reassuring voters it would take a strong stance on border protection if it wins office. The federal government has lashed the opposition for refusing to support temporary protection visas. It says TPVs deter asylum seekers from travelling to Australia, and without them there would be a surge in boat arrivals. But Shadow Home Affairs Minister Christina Keneally disagrees.
The only people in Australia on temporary protection visas came before Operation Sovereign Borders. Nobody goes on a temporary protection visa anymore, because if you attempt to come to Australia by boat, you will be turned back or you will be sent to Nauru.
There's been another death on our roads. A 26-year-old man's died after coming off his motorbike at Waialanori early this morning. He lost control just after 4 a.m. Major crash officers are investigating the circumstances. It's the 25th life lost on our roads this year compared to 37 a year ago. The ICAC Deputy Commissioner will carry out an evaluation of the Central Adelaide Local Health Network, which includes the REH and QEH. It'll look into practices, policies and procedures regarding complaints made about the network and its staff. The state government says it looks forward to seeing the findings and recommendations. The Adelaide Guitar Festival has announced its 2022 program. The festival, which runs from July 9 to 24, features a mix of rock, classical, blues and flamenco performances. Artistic director Slava Gregorian says they're also heading to the regions.
We've got town-wide events in Elliston, Streaky Bay, Tumby Bay, Cleve, Bristol Brook, Watervale, Edithburgh, Wallaroo, Eleanor Downs and Gamaraka. A lot of festival artists will be coming in and out of Adelaide, playing gigs in Adelaide and then heading out into regional communities.
Tuning to 5AA Sport.
Save time and fuel. The best ladies' clothes are at Leslie's of Gawler, 100 Murray Street, Gawler.
Port will take an extended squad of 26 to Cairns to play St Kilda on Saturday night. Alia, Robbie Gray and Tom Jonas will make the trip despite pulling up sore after the win over West Coast. Coach Ken Hinkley says they're prepared for the warm and humid conditions.
The reality is that they're normally not a very high-scoring game up in Cairns. It's about a 70-point scoring margin that the teams get on, so it's probably going to be a genuinely contested style of football that we played up there, and St Kilda in really good form and you know what to expect.
The Crows host GWS on Saturday, looking for their 3rd win in a row. Meanwhile, Geelong is expecting Fremantle's very best despite the absence of several key players due to injury. Cats coach Chris Scott says the Dockers' reinforcement are more than capable.
Our approach should be to expect their very best, and whatever we do, don't expect that because they haven't got their first-rate guys in there that the second options are much lesser. I think that's really the case.
And in basketball, Adelaide 36er Kai Soto wants to try his luck in the US. He's officially declared for the 2022 NBA draft. Now checking 5AA traffic.
At Upper Sturt, look out for residual delays after an early motorbike v car accident. Upper Sturt Road near Station Road. Take care if heading through there. Mile End works on Henley Beach Road near Parker Street, heading citybound, got a lane closed. At Mitchell Park works on Dawes Road near the Walter Avenue area. Tash heading towards the beach, got a lane closed and speed reduced there as well. Look out for a camera, May Terrace Lockleys. Need new flooring, blinds or rugs? Earn triple Qantas points at Carpet Court. That's across all carpet, hard flooring, blinds and rugs. Triple Qantas points on now at Carpet Court. T's and C's apply. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Now the 5AA forecast. Mostly sunny this afternoon, 28. Showers tomorrow, 22. Saturday a shower or two, 19. And Sunday partly cloudy, a top of 20. Right now it's 27. Now let's hear what's happening on 9 News Tonight.
Tonight, a notorious Adelaide triple killer's bid for freedom and the brave victim who's facing him. Carjack chaos in the northern suburbs. Adelaide's hot property market, but is there finally some good news for buyers? The bank's giving you $5,000 to switch to them, plus experts busting the myths around pre-made baby food. I'm Kate Collins. See the full story on 9 News Tonight at 6.
$13.95. Adelaide's 5AA. This is Jade Robran.
Good afternoon. It's 5 minutes past 3 o'clock, and you can head to the 5AA live stream on either Facebook or YouTube, proudly supporting Cancer Council South Australia.
You better get a lawyer, son. You better get a real good one. You better get a lawyer, son. You better get a real good one.
Well, earlier this year, a B-grade footy player had been jailed for nearly 2 years for a cowardly off-the-ball punch, which left his victim's bottom teeth pretty much smashed in. And it sent a huge message that day because, well, really, it was just because you're playing sport doesn't mean you can commit acts of violence. And that is the topic that we're going to be talking about today with Tim Downey from Johnston Withers Lawyers. Good afternoon. How are you today?
Good afternoon, Jade. Thanks for having me.
This was an awful, awful incident, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a terrible incident. So the injuries were smashed teeth, lacerations to his mouth, 2 fractures in his lower jaw. He required surgery, titanium plates and screws. He's in hospital for 4 nights. He's got 6 weeks off work. He's got ongoing dental and rehab. So, you know, that's nasty. He's the full forward for, Southern District's B grade, playing his grand final. Kicks a goal, bit of a scuffle, play goes on, and next thing he knows, he's in hospital. So
disgusting and cowardly as well. Be off the ball and not in play, and just the whole thing's really ugly.
It is really ugly. So in terms of the law and just looking at this case, it is a bit of a line in the sand, I think. Because to be sentenced for 2 years jail for an assault is actually no small matter. That's a pretty serious sentence. He had a little bit of a history, but that was a number of years ago. This is the offender. He has a family, he has a job, he's an otherwise respectable member of the public. On
white line fever and everything got the better of him, which is not okay.
A little bit of white line fever. So, and it's interesting you say that, Jade, because the law to some extent, and even maybe the community and society, they have dealt with these sporting assaults a little bit like that. It's a little bit like there's a rule for the sporting field and then there's a rule for Rundle Mall.
Well, yeah, in the old days, you just go to the tribunal and you might have been knocked out for, I don't know, the whole season for something like this, but very rarely would you get criminal charges.
Yeah, look, absolutely. And you're even looking at the highest level. So if we look at AFL, VFL, there's a famous case of Lee Matthews, of course, from 1985. He gave Neville Bruns a bit of a touch-up, and the AFL, VFL will say that this is the only, I think it's the only reported case where a VFL, AFL player has been charged. So Lee Matthews was charged by the police. He copped I think it was a $1,000 fine, which was probably equivalent to about $10,000 now.
Yeah.
Rubbed out for all of 4 weeks for that one. It was a terrible, the listeners can see it on YouTube, of course.
Many would remember it, actually.
Many would remember it. Very few wouldn't, and hardcore footy followers know it well. But look, it's interesting, isn't it? Because it was only 2 or 3 seasons ago that young Angus Brayshaw was totaled by gaff. And that was pretty similar. And he was felled. He had a broken jaw. Could only drink soup through a straw for about 3 weeks.
It was awful.
Yeah, it was. And Gaff got, like for life, he got about 13 weeks as opposed to, back in the day, 4 weeks. But there were no criminal charges brought, which is interesting.
Could Gaff have done that? Could
Brayshaw.
Sorry.
Absolutely, he could have.
He could have, because it was in his workplace and somebody's...
Oh, regardless of workplace, it is a common assault. It's an absolute common assault. So Bruns would have gone and if I recall, I think, because I remember looking into this, I think Bruns actually brought the charge. Brayshaw obviously didn't, and so it was left at that. But there's a fair bit of inconsistency there, I think. I mean, if you look at this case, I've got to sort of say, I mean, in some respects, what's the difference?
Well, not much,
not
really,
much.
when you look at it, is it?
Because if you're going to hit someone, and my recollection of the Gaff incident was I don't think Brayshaw really had a chance to defend himself, if I
Not
recall.
from what I recall, no. It came pretty much from left field. Yeah, it wasn't. It was ugly and it was awful. I remember seeing it, sitting down with my children, and they were almost speechless. I think everyone was speechless when they saw it.
I think they were. It was shocking.
And we know he was remorseful and all of that, but the incident itself, he still did it, and it was still shocking.
Yep. So if we look at some other cases, there's a 2014 case, Adelaide Lutheran and the Seaton Ramblers, where a coward punch, one of the players coward punched another player, same sort of injuries. They're always nasty injuries because, of course, the person's not expecting it. He went before a magistrate and got 8 months jail, but that was suspended. And then you've got the case in 27, Ali Fahor, who was the ex-AFL diversity manager. I don't know if you remember that, but he was a chap that was the AFL diversity manager for football. He played amateur footy and he hit someone off the ball.
I do remember this. Yeah, I do now.
Yeah. So he ended up
losing his job, didn't
he? He did. He avoided criminal conviction, and in fact, that was one of the arguments he made, is that he'd been punished enough. He lost his job. The magistrate avoided a criminal conviction. He avoided a criminal conviction, but he was ordered to pay $5,000 to Disability Sports Australia and had to do about 200 hours of community service. So, these sort of sentences are there and about, but then you get this one where he was given a sentence of 2 years custodial, so in jail for 2 years. So that's a little bit, it is in fact far more serious. So it was appealed because his lawyers appealed on the basis that it was manifestly excessive. Okay?
Yeah.
Playing footy, it's not like he broke into someone's house. He didn't, And effectively, the Supreme Court, or the Court of Criminal Appeal, who are really the top guys, the two judges heard it there, and they just said no. They felt that at the end of the day that that for a number of reasons, the sentence of 2 years, and by the way, he'll serve 1 year and a couple of months, was in fact appropriate. And as for all the reasons you mentioned earlier, it's because of the example that's being set. It's because the AFL will no longer accept any sort of thuggery in professional sport. So Judge Livesey actually cited the AFL's Management of Sports-Related Concussion paper, which I thought was interesting. So he's saying the community now's changed and the community will not accept this type of behaviour on a sporting field anymore.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because it's almost become verbal and physical abuse. We saw the umpires, the AFL change rules in regards to how you speak to umpires, because sometimes those verbal words can lead to heated physical interactions with each other. So they're ruling out a lot of things to prevent boilovers, aren't they?
Totally, and it's interesting because from an AFL perspective, these things obviously filter down to the amateurs. And I think that's the sort of disappointing thing to some extent if you look at that gaff incident, is that
they had an opportunity to really make a stance.
Yeah. Look, that's right. But in any event, I think what it says is that as a community and the court should reflect community views. I think that the court is really saying, look, as a community, this sort of stuff is not acceptable, and it's the little things. Now the AFL, as you say, there's no remonstrating with umpires. So that's a form of sort of threatening, aggressive type behaviour that's being ruled out. And that's just being, I suppose, reflected through hopefully through the amateur football, and certainly it's been reflected in the court. So, yeah.
I mean, no one can forget Barry Hall's brutal hit on Brent Staker as well. And, he's now living I guess, his post-life, being known as a bit of a thug now as well, isn't he, Barry Hall? Your whole reputation is tarnished.
It is, totally. But, again, you've got to look at Staker, and Staker has accepted an apology from Barry Hall quite, publicly, which was only a few years ago. But Staker talks about, the devastating effect that had on him. I mean, he was totally knocked out. And so, again, it's awful that an amateur footballer would see that, and somewhere in the back of their brain, in the middle of white line fever, they think, well, that's kind of allowable.
Well, if Gaff did it, if Barry Hall did it, well, why can't I?
We're
going to take a really short break, but we're going to continue the legal aspect to this. That's coming up next.
And we're back with another mate dedication.
Thanks, champ. This is for my best mate Eddie. He backed her off in our pot and it got up for the lads.
Great stuff. Ladbroker together with Mates Mode. T's and C's apply and available on website. Gamble responsibly.
Introducing the Drive Car of the Year. The all-new Kia Sportage. Awarded for its new turbo engine that gives you progressive performance. The Kia Sportage has a boldly sculpted sportsback design and soft touch leather interior, making it a natural leader. Kia Sportage, the Drive Car of the Year. To find out more, visit kia.com.au or visit your nearest Kia dealer.
Kia, movement that inspires.
Mother's Day is coming up, and here's a hot tip. Last-minute chocolates or the flowers that you've pinched over the neighbour's fence just won't cut it. This year, do Mum's Day right with a limited edition Black Forest cake from the Cheesecake Shop. This is a special Mother's Day creation. Picture this: chocolate sponge, fresh cream and sour cherries, chocolate glaze with cherries on top, plus a sprinkle of rose petals and gold dust. That's sure to delight any mum. But they have so much more there. You can buy halves and quarters too. Reckon I could manage a quarter to myself, actually, with a nice cup of tea. It comes in a box, so it's already gift wrapped. The perfect Mother's Day gift is a piece of cake from the Cheesecake Shop. Order in store, online, or from your favourite delivery partner.
Summer, bit overrated. Winter's where it's at, especially when it means shopping Harris Scarf's massive May for Mum. With 30 to 40% off all apparel, sleepwear and underwear, pick up a pair of their snuggly and pretty legendary flannelette jammies for Mum. And because she's the best, shout her a gorgeous cocoa jumper from $17.99 or something fancy from Jane Lamerton. Harris Scarf's Massive May. Everything you need for Mother's Day at famous Massive May prices. Sale ends Sunday, May 8.
Boy, you're in for a school holiday treat at Reading Cinemas. Ooh, they must be watching Sonic the Hedgehog too. Oh, Sonic! You gotta love him! Guess what I'm about to see? I know how all you Potterheads feel about spoilers, but boy, am I excited to head back to the Wizarding World with Dumbledore and Grindelwald. Sorry. Fantastic Beasts: The Secret of Dumbledore is starting. Book your school holiday tickets now. Kids tickets from just $12 at readingcinemas.com.au.
Hi, Susanna Toop here. Tenants, you're going to love this. Toop and Toop now gives you early access to rental properties. Hear about properties up to 2 months in advance and before they become publicly available, with email alerts direct to your inbox. No more rushing around to find something in just 2 weeks. With Toop and Toop, you can now find your next home sooner. So if you're struggling to find a rental property or you want to plan early, simply register now at toop.com.au/rent.
Jade Robran on 1395, Adelaide's 5AA.
You can head to the FIVEAA live stream on either Facebook or YouTube. We're proudly supporting Cancer Council SA. You can watch Tim Downey from Johnston Withers Lawyers. They are your Adelaide legal firm with 75 years experience, and you can check out Johnston Withers at johnstonwithers.com.au. Let's go back to this case here in South Australia in the Supreme Court, where we were talking about the B grade grand final, and we had a gentleman who punched his opposition player, which, as you spoke through, his injury shattered his jaw and his teeth. He's had to have time off work and his dental bill. What happens to that? Who pays for that?
Well, he's got the right to make a victim of crime claim. So in South Australia, we do have victim of crime legislation, compensation legislation. So those damages are maxed out at $100,000.
That's not a lot.
It's not a lot, no. So for this gentleman, he would be able to claim his loss of salary if, for example, he's a surgeon and he's off work for 2 years. Well, he would only get $100,000 from the scheme.
And what about trauma?
Well, that's right. Look, the whole maximum is made up of various what's called heads of damages or categories of damages. So he would get loss of income for the time he can't work. He would get some pain and suffering for the trauma, as you say. That might be for what he's been through, $20,000 or $30,000, let's say. And look, he may have some sort of trauma issues, psychological stuff, so it could be worth more than that. Then you've got all of his medical expenses. His dental will be potentially eye-watering. If you've like me and love Toblerone and you've lost a tooth, smashed on one, that's $6,000-7,000 worth of work generally. So in the end, he may what we call max it out. I don't know, but look, it's better than nothing, because trying to sue someone that's committed a crime in the court is obviously really, really difficult. Because you've got to try and get a judgment against them, which is not easy. You've then got to get that judgment executed against them. So if that person owns assets, they might just sell the asset to their, transfer it to their wife, and then that person has no asset. You can't sue them. You might get an order that they pay you $20 a week out of their salary.
That is so unfair, because they've blatantly committed the crime, and they've been, 2 years in jail, and you get not much for it. Imagine if it happened to America.
Well, yeah, but again, this is the difficulty, is that in the end, this is why we have this scheme, is that at least the government is there. The government says, look, we'll give you something, which they do. And at the end of the day, once the government's paid out that money, then, and I should say, when we issue proceedings in the court, we pay a bit of a surcharge towards that scheme, but I won't go into that. So it's kind of a self-funded scheme almost. Anyway, once they've paid out, then the government will seek to recover that money from the perpetrator down the track. So the legislation does allow for them to then go back and try and get that money from the actual perpetrator. So in the end, the perpetrator does have to pay something out, which I think is good, because I think it should work that way.
So if somebody is sitting at home now listening, or they're at work and they're like, oh my golly, like last year I got badly injured and it was a dirty act on the sports field, can they revisit that now?
Yeah, sure. You've got 3 years to make a victim of crime claim. It can be extended under certain circumstances, but you'd want to get it in certainly sooner rather than later. But the official time frame is 3 years. It's basically anyone who's had a crime committed against them for violence or threat of violence, an imminent risk of harm, a sexual crime, death or physical injury.
Mm-hmm.
So there's quite a broad scope. It can't be for property theft, for example, but so it's got to be like a physical injury, if that makes sense, or psychological. You have to report it to the police. So if it happened to you on a sporting field, you have to actually make a report, all right? And you could do that by phone or in person at a police station. You then contact the Crown Solicitor's office. The forms are online. You fill in the forms and you provide it to them. The Crown will then determine whether you're eligible to make a claim. And then the system will go from there. So they'll need medical evidence. So they're looking for GP notes, GP reports, specialist reports, dental reports, hospital reports, and then they'll look at things like all of your lost wages. So you provide them with evidence of all of that. And then eventually they will make effectively an offer. You don't have to take that offer. You can actually take that offer to a lawyer, and then that could you can go to the court and challenge what they're offering you, if that makes sense. So it's quite a good scheme, and I for people, as you say, in that situation, I really recommend they can just go online. You could look up Victims of Crime SA, or you can look up the Law Handbook SA, South Australia. Yes. And in the Law Handbook, it's got a link to Victims of Crime. Click on that, and it'll really steps you through it quite well. So yeah, for anyone in that situation, I really recommend it. I mean, it's an act that's there. When people pay a fine in South Australia, even I think it's even speeding, because unfortunately I have to confess to paying a few of those over the years. There's a part of it is for the Victim of Crime scheme.
Okay, well, and I mean, look, they're getting tougher on these things. So
Yeah.
I feel like when the courts come down on somebody as harsh as they have with this Mr. Harrison fella, then it will slowly get it weeded out.
Yeah, look, potentially. I think the thing, though, is that looking back on my career in terms of victims of crime cases and so forth, I mean, there's some pretty... I've dealt with some pretty awful sorts of cases like that. And when you see that the maximum is only... There are times when that maximum of 100,000 is way under what it should be.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But I think there also needs to be a bit of a balance, because we don't want a situation where everyone wants to make a claim in respect of just every single incident, or it's looked upon as being too much of an enticement.
Yeah, of course.
So there's got to be a little bit of a balancing act there, I think.
No, interesting chat. Thank you so much. That is Tim Downey from Johnston Withers Lawyers, and you can check out Johnston Withers at johnstonwithers.com.au. We're going to head into the newsroom now, but if you like cute little puppies, if you feel like you'd like to be a puppy foster carer, well, this story coming up is for you.
Rowey's Sport Show.
It's a dream come true. Erin, welcome. It's going to be sad to see you go.
I'm so grateful for the Adelaide Football Club, but it's also an exciting day because I get to go back home to play with a club, that I was born a part of.
4 p.m. weekdays.
I wanted to get your dad on 8 flags, 343 great games for board. Greg, it is a dream come true. Big fella, isn't it?
Yeah, what a good day, mate. Yeah. The most important thing was to finish your career off on a really good note.
Rowey's Sport Show on 5AA.
Hi, Katie Bridges here, Market Lead at FIVEAA. Last year I participated in the Vinnie's CEO Sleepout. It was an extremely wet one and I was certainly grateful that I could choose to do it for one night only. But it was absolutely worth it to raise funds and support the incredible work that Vinnie's do. I've signed up again this year because I care about our community, so I'm urging other business and community leaders that care to do the same. Register now at ceosleepout.org.au.
G'day, it's Scott Morrison. The pandemic has been tough. By working together, our recovery is leading the world. Compared to most countries, Australia has saved more lives, we have less debt, and we've delivered more jabs and more jobs. To strengthen our economy, our Liberal government is delivering tax relief for workers and small businesses, investing in infrastructure and apprenticeships, and working towards the lowest unemployment rate in nearly 50 years. Together, we're building a stronger future. Let's not turn back now.
Authorised by Ahurst Liberal, Canberra.
Has your family run into a legal dispute? Have you had an injury or car accident you believe you can claim for? Has someone left a will that you want to challenge? If you find yourself needing a lawyer, you need the team at Johnston Withers. Johnston Withers is an Adelaide legal firm with 75 years' experience. They have plenty of expertise in family law, personal injury, motor accident claims, wills and estates, workers' compensation, asbestos diseases and much more. Every Thursday, we'll talk about current legal issues with the legal experts from Johnston Withers Lawyers, but you can call them any time you like. For free initial advice, Johnston Withers is with you. Call them on 8231 1110, that's 8231 1110, or go to johnstonwithers.com.au.
Hey, it's Callum here. As a chef, I know that confidence in the kitchen equals success. The same goes for buying a new Mazda. You can feel confident in the team at Edwardstown Mazda because they've been doing it for years. Looking for something small, medium or large, Edwardstown Mazda have most models in stock, ready to drive away. But remember, everybody wants to drive a Mazda in 2022, so hurry.
It's gotta be
edwardstownmazda.com.au. LMVD 207428.
Have you been itching to help out? Now you can. CMAX are trialling a potential skin treatment and need your help. If you are aged 18 to 55 and don't have atopic dermatitis, you may be eligible to participate. Not only will you help make a difference, but all eligible participants will get reimbursed for their time. Visit cmax.com.au and search for CM7721. That's cmax.com.au. CM7721.
If you have a personal alert system that relies on a landline and is connected to your NBN modem, it may not work during a power failure. Upgrade today for just $99. That's 75% off normal price. For more info, go to carealert.com.au.
This is Adelaide's 5AA.
Good afternoon, I'm Michaela Kamarek. There's been a drop in our daily COVID case numbers today, with 3,733 infections reported. Another 4 people have died with the virus. A 26-year-old man's died after coming off his motorbike at FIVEAA early this morning. Russia is being accused of blackmailing European nations after it cut off gas supply to Poland and Bulgaria. And Port will take an extended squad of 26 to Cairns to play St Kilda on Saturday night. Clearing this afternoon, 28. Right now it's 27. More news at 4 o'clock and as it happens on 5AA.
$13.95. Adelaide's 5AA. This is Jade Robran.
Good afternoon. It is 3:32 on this Thursday afternoon, and we would love you to head to the 5AA live stream or on either Facebook or YouTube, proudly supporting Cancer Council SA, because we've got a very cute, furry little friend in the studio. His name is Urban, so all dog lovers, tune in. Now, we want to know if you are a dog lover and you're thinking you'd like a fur baby. Well, the Royal Society for the Blind would love to hear from you because they're on the lookout for puppy foster carers. And joining us in the studio, we've got Mark, who is Urban's little puppy carer at the moment. And we've also joined in the studio Sally Raphael, who works for the Royal Society of the Blind. Guys, welcome to the show. How are you?
Oh, thank you very much for having us.
Yeah, great to have you. Now, in the ad break there, I just had a little photo with Urban, and he's very cute and cuddly. How old is he?
He's actually only just 11 weeks at the moment.
Oh, beautiful. And so when do you get him?
8 weeks old.
So he's only new.
Yeah. He basically, you get the puppy that doesn't know really how to walk on a lead. Does as it pleases. Thinks that you're part of its litter still. But yeah, they're very cute at that age. That's for sure.
And what made you sign up?
I did it probably about 4 years ago now, and I was pretty keen to have a look into some sort of like community service kind of stuff, and I was pretty happy with where I was at with my career and everything like that. So I thought had a bit of a look around, and this come up, and I thought, yeah, this looks like something that fits in pretty well.
And you're a dog lover?
I'm definitely a dog lover for sure. Yeah.
Oh, he's talking to you now.
He is, yeah.
He wants a snack or a schmacko or to play or something like that.
No, I think he just wants to wander around the studio and sniff everything. That's what I think he
Well, it's
would like
new
to
and
do.
exciting in here.
It
I guess
is.
there's all new smells. So what's the commitment for you then?
So the commitment for me is basically you have the dog from 8 weeks old, right up to around about 18 months old. Anywhere between 12 and 18 months is when they kind of got called back in to go into formal training. But yeah, for me, so basically it is a 24-hour commitment, especially in their younger age.
Yeah,
when
like
you
a
first
baby.
get the dog. Yeah, it is, but it's definitely a lot faster than a baby. Not that I've had a baby myself, but those that are around me that have had them, they're still battling with sleepless nights. I had my first full night's sleep when he was about after a week. So
You're
that was
doing
nice.
very well, Daddy. Well done. And talk to me, Sally, about the importance of a role that Matt is doing.
Oh, look, I think the importance... earlier this week at an Anzac Day service, I saw Xena, one of Mark's dogs that he looked after as a volunteer, and Xena's now paired with Sam, who is a veteran who has her as an assistance dog now, and he's now back at university, he's studying, he's got his life really back in a really positive place. So whether our dogs become guide dogs and help people who are blind, or whether they help veterans with post-traumatic stress disorder, the dogs are making such a big difference to the lives of South Australians.
So talk to me about Xena's role with her new owner. Is that a post-stress disorder relationship, that one?
That's right, yeah. So her owner now, Sam, he was a veteran and came back with post-traumatic stress disorder. Through his counsellor recommended that a dog would be a really beneficial thing for him, and he said he just had an instant connection with Xena, that it was almost like love at first sight, and she's really helped him to work through his emotions and move on. As I said, he's now back at university. He's studying medicine now, so he's really back in a much more positive place than he was, say, 2 years ago.
That is incredible. So what does Xena do then in her everyday life with Sam?
So all of our dogs, whether they're guide dogs or assistance dogs, they're paired to match a client's needs. So clients are all different. They have different lifestyles, different needs. So the guide dogs are based on keeping, obviously, people safe, being able to help them get out and do everyday activities. The assistance dogs tend to be more around helping people, looking for those prompts when they know that their client is stressed or anxious, and really helping them to calm down. But they also help from a practical perspective. They've helped veterans literally get out of the house, go for walks every day, reconnect with community, all of those sorts of things too, Jade.
So does somebody pick up the phone and connect with you first, and then you go and find a dog and train them accordingly?
So most people, so if people are blind, they generally are already a client of ours, because we offer a whole range of different services for people with vision impairments. And there is obviously some funding that's available, and we help them through that whole process. For the assistance dogs, again, there is support through the Department of Veterans Affairs, and again, lots of counsellors who work in that space often refer those people through to us as well. And of course, we do things like this where we're just letting people know what we're doing and what we're all about.
And so, Matt, what's the expense been for you?
Well, there's been really not any cost to me at all. So the RSB, they provide all the food, they provide all of the vet bills and all that sort of stuff. The only thing is that if I choose to buy extra toys for the dog, that's at my expense. But I mean, look, how can you not buy extra toys for the dogs.
Oh, you'd be smothering him with everything. He's so cute.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. It's very easy. You walk out of the shops with a couple of toys for the dog, or you do online shopping, and all of a sudden you've just bought stuff for the dog. But yeah, no, they're great to have around.
So, Mark, talk to me about your role in training Urban.
Yep.
Is that on you?
Yeah, so, well, not entirely. So, I mean, obviously, like home behaviours and toilet training and stuff like that is socialisation as well. So, I mean, he comes with me to work every day. So, I mean, basically, it's at a point now that I'm not welcome in the office unless I've got the dog. But, yeah, no, so pretty much just like socialisation and stuff like that. At the younger ages, we do have about 2 classes a month out in various situations. So, we might do like a public transport class, or we might do a shopping centre class or something like that. And then, of course, there's always like that 24-hour support as well. If you've got any questions, if something happens with the dog, which, I mean, thankfully I've been very lucky, touch wood, that most of the dogs, or all the dogs I've had have been very healthy and haven't had to have operations to get stuff taken out of their stomach, thankfully. But yeah, it's really good. I really quite enjoy it. The dog fits quite well into my lifestyle and what I do, so that's it works out really well.
So does the training really start after the 18 months?
Yeah, that's right. So our puppy volunteers look after the dogs till they're about that sort of 12 to 14 month age. Then they move on to another household where we get another set of volunteers, and they're known as our bed and breakfast boarders, because what they basically do is they look after the dog at night, but during the day they bring the dog in to RSB, where our lovely team of trainers then work with the dog every day. So the dogs are pretty much at school then for 6 to 8 months, and then they have that handover period with the client that they get paired with before they leave us at about 2 years to start their working career.
So what's the point of changing households?
So it's about 12 to 14 months.
No, but what's the point of that?
The point of it. Well, part of the point is to also get the dog used to that changeover, to make sure that they're building up resilience. We also just find that there's some different skills involved with those different types of volunteers. So it's actually less work in some ways to be a bed and breakfast boarder, because you're kind of only looking after the dog at night and then just dropping it off every morning, whereas other people love really looking after the puppy and having that journey over the first 12 months of the dog's life.
Mark, how hard is it to say goodbye?
It's incredibly difficult, so I still miss Zena like crazy. All the time I sort of think, what's she up to? What's she doing? But I mean, I know she's doing a wonderful thing, so that's what's important. The last dog I had, Kale, had handed him back about 3 weeks ago, and then within 3 days I had Urban, so that kind of helps heal things a little bit.
Yeah.
But it is incredibly difficult to give the dogs back. But I mean, you know that you're doing it for a good cause, so it makes it that little bit better. And then like last year we had Zena's graduation and met Sam for the first time and stuff like that. And that's when like, yeah, all right, okay, so this is why I've done this. But you still miss the dog, but yeah, it's definitely worth it.
Oh, of course it would be. And I mean, it takes an incredibly strong person and passionate person to do this. Is there a part of you that thinks, oh, maybe I'll just go and buy one myself and have him forever?
Yeah, that's it. Well, there's a part of me like, oh, do just take off with the dog and just disappear into state? I mean, those things all do run through your mind. I can't deny that. But yeah, no, sometimes I think,
Sally's sitting there going, uh-oh, lock the doors.
Do I have to find someone else to know?
Yeah, that's it. No, well, I mean, I haven't done it with any of the dogs yet, so I think they can be pretty confident they're not going to take off.
Of course.
But yeah, no, it's it is incredibly difficult. But yeah, you do. I lost my train of thought now, but yeah, it is difficult, and you do.
Yeah, you do it for the love of it.
Yeah, you do, and the dogs become a part of your life and all that sort of stuff.
Of course.
Basically everything that I pretty much do, the dogs come along. If I go camping, forward driving, with Zena, I even took her over to Perth a few times. Wow. Still even to this day, my grandmother came with me on a couple of the trips, and she still talks about the day that we took Zena on the plane as the best day of her life.
Oh, wow.
Not that her grandson was born or anything like that.
Oh, no. When the cute dog comes for a holiday, that trumps anything.
Exactly right.
Sally, and you're on the lookout for volunteers. You're looking for some foster puppy parents?
We are, yes, yeah. We are. So our program is expanding. We've had already this year. We've had 3 litters of puppies born, and we've got some more coming. We already have about 300 volunteers, but we're always on the lookout for more as our program expands. So more people like Mark to help us raise future guide and assistance dogs.
And so, how can they get in contact with you?
The best place is to go to our website, which is rsb.org.au. We quite often have information sessions, so anyone who goes online can fill out the form and we'll be in touch and let them know a bit more about the whole process.
And are you looking for a particular type of person? Obviously someone that loves dogs, but anything else?
Not really. So people who have a little bit of time, obviously, it is a bit of a commitment. Look, the typical person who probably does this is perhaps an early retiree who's looking for something different in their lives and to give back. But having said that, we also do have a number of people who take their dogs to work with them, and that's also great. So it's less about perhaps the age of the person and more about just being open to being part of something that's really incredible. Loving a dog, having a little bit of time, but also knowing that, like you said, you're going to be part of having to give the dog back, but part of something that really makes a difference going forward.
Yeah, the greater good. Sally and Mark, thank you so much. You guys are free to go, but if you could keep Urban for another snuggle, that would be wonderful.
No problems at all, but I'll have to take him when I leave.
Damn it.
Thank
you. You're listening to Adelaide's 5AA.
Sunday nights from 7, join Sean Fuster with his partner in crime, Daniel Panozzo, for Just Lawful, the Adelaide crime stories that will leave you stunned. Thanks to Crime Stoppers SA and Police Credit Union, supporting better communities. crimestopperssa.com.au.
Next up, a mate dedication from Tim.
Andy, I'll never forget the day that you loaned me that slick tie so I could get into the members. Sorry, I lost it, champ.
Sounds like a legend. Ladbroke it together with Mates Mode. T's and C's apply and available on website. Gamble responsibly.
Hello, Ian Henschke from National Seniors Australia. Australia desperately needs more than 400,000 extra workers, and we've got pensioners who want to help, want to work and work more. But we've got a confusing system that gives you a bonus for one day's work and penalises you more than 50 cents in the dollar after that. Make it simple, make it fair. Get rid of the pensioner work tax now. It's a win for pensioners, for business and for Australia. Sign our petition at nationalseniors.com.au.
Booze Brothers. Beat the others cold.
At Booze Brothers, you'll always find something for Mum. Make her day sparkle with bubbles, boutique wines, small batch handmade SA gin, or a splash of pink rosé. Find it all and more in-store or online at Booze Brothers, the Unley, Avenues Tavern, Mile End Hotel, the Duck Inn, and online. Booze Brothers, making mums happy for almost 40 years.
Booze Brothers.
Beat the others cold.
Hello, I'm Lynn Andrews. For over 50 years, the team at Lynn Andrews Real Estate have made it easy to manage residential and commercial property. Whether you own a single residential home or multiple commercial properties, our passion for property investment means we have a great deal of knowledge to share. How to invest safely and properly. Matching the right tenant with the right property every time. We're here to help. Visit lynandrews.com.au.
Breaking news at Beaumont's. As well as Australia's biggest range of tiles, Beaumont's now has a range of quality hybrid flooring. Get stunning hybrid timber look or make an impression with magnificent hybrid stone look. With our new quality flooring options, you'll be happy you chose Beaumont's.
If you're due for a service, here's a little reminder of what you get at Mawson Lakes Mazda. Sure, your car gets state-of-the-art servicing by top-trained mechanics. But what do you get? Try next day servicing, complimentary loan car, vacuum and wash. Oh, and your breakfast or lunch is on us. At Mawson Lakes Mazda, we know that to be the best, we've got to look after your car and look after you. Mawson Lakes Mazda, just a short drive from the city.
The Barossa Valley is a place where things mature well and the locals really appreciate good vintage, which is why it makes sense to make the vine change and call the Barossa home. Barossa Village in Anguston, Tanunda and Nuriutpa gives you the retirement lifestyle you deserve. 1, 2 and 3 bedroom homes are now available in safe connected communities under an hour from the city. Mature well and let it breathe at Barossa Village. Find out more at barossavillage.org.
Jade Robran on 1395, Adelaide's 5AA.
Good afternoon. It's a few minutes to 4 o'clock, and coming up after 4 o'clock, it's Rowey Sports Show, which you can head to the 5AA live stream and watch his show on either Facebook or YouTube, proudly supporting Cancer Council South Australia. Rowey, good afternoon.
G'day, Jade. This thing's making a few noises.
It's a bit
Can
squeaky.
you hear that?
Yes,
It's
I
a little
can.
bit. It's like a bunny. Hey, big show as always on Thursday. Caroline Wilson after 5. Now,
Yes.
I am getting a little bit tired and jaded of the tit for tat, would you call it that?
Yes, I would exactly call
Yeah,
it
so
that.
let's hope-
Argy-bargy, biff, biff, biff.
Yes, so hopefully it's a bit more of a love-in.
Just be nice to each other. Is
Just
that possible?
Well, I don't think it's me to her.
No,
it
I don't
needs to be
know.
reciprocal. It's her to me.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see it? Do you
I
reckon
get a bit of a vibe, yes.
Oh, do you? I roll her up.
Oh.
Or she rolls me up.
I think you're both as bad as each other
Oh,
sometimes.
okay.
You're the
Okay.
perfect pair for radio.
Oh, that's orcs.
But no, you discuss good topics and it's all good. But yeah, I think sometimes you don't want to hear argy-bargy all the time.
Listen, Caro, just leave the crows alone and Tex alone and the camp alone and we'll get on perfectly fine. Anyway, let's hope
Is
that
that
happens
possible?
after 5. Rory Sloane at 4:30 on his knee. It's round 7. Port lose to St Kilda. It's curtains. Season over, so big game will have the teams. Crows are going for 3 straight. Last time they did that was in 2020, so things are looking rosy there. Good work. I'll see you at,
doing well.
4?
You will in just a few moments' time. Go have a cup of tea, put your feet up.
Yeah, no, I will, Jade. A
ready
bit bored
for
with
your-
this conversation, but that's okay. No! See, look at
Off
your
you
face.
go.
Gotcha.
That's fine.
Don't give me any Caro lip, mate.
Oh, Roo. Now, I've got a double pass to Shen Yun to give away, so you can give us a call now on 8223 0055. You can experience the extraordinary Shen Yun at the Festival Theatre from May 10th to 15th. And if you'd like to book some tickets, you can head to tickettech.com.au. Well, this is a strange one. Do you think dolphins have been used in Putin's war? I don't know about this one. There are reports that Russia has deployed trained military dolphins to its naval base in the Black Sea. Joining us is Dr. Keith Suter from Global Directions think tank. Good afternoon. Howdy-ho.
Good afternoon.
Is this fair dinkum?
Yes, I think there's a lot of truth in it. We know the Russians and the Americans have had programs where they've trained both dolphins and seals. There's also been talk about a beluga whale, but the whale wasn't quite as adept at taking instructions. But certainly, over the decades, the Russians and Americans have trained dolphins and seals to go ahead and detect mines in the water. They're very intelligent creatures, and they take instructions, and they are very good at this. Now, in the case of the Russians, they had theirs in the area off Crimea, and then with the breakup of the old Soviet Empire, that training facility went across to Ukraine, and then, of course, in 2014, Moscow decided to take Crimea back off Ukraine, and they took the dolphins with them. And so Ukraine said, oh, no, you leave the dolphins here, but the Russians said, no, we have need of them. And so, yes, there is truth in this story. I know it sounds very eccentric. There is truth in the story that the Russians have got dolphins and possibly seals, but certainly the dolphins, trained for demining operations. I say the Americans were also involved in a similar type of operation.
Well, they're such a beautiful animal. If only they knew who they were working for.
Exactly. They're a lot more intelligent than the people who run the planet, namely humans. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, so what, Keith, would their role be in all of this?
Oh, because they're so good, you can train them to find out where mines are, and then they signal that there are mines in the area.
Goodness me, and keep divers away and just sonar reading, like just everything, really.
Yeah, they're very good.
Wow, okay. Now, in the last few days, we've seen images of Putin, like shaking, not looking great. Hopefully someone's poisoned him. Did I say that? No, I didn't. Do we know what's wrong?
No, we don't. There's all sorts of speculation that, remember, he's under an incredible amount of pressure. The campaign that he launched a month ago has turned out to be an absolute disaster in so many respects. So he's already under a lot of psychological stress. There's been speculation that it may be cancer or premature aging. As you know, he tries to demonstrate how physically fit he is by appearing, bare-chested and running around in the water and all the rest of it.
Riding horses.
Exactly. So he tries to give the impression that he's very healthy. He's in his late 60s, so he's really entering that age range where you become vulnerable to chronic illnesses. So yes, you're right. There is all sorts of speculation that he's got problems. He looks very puffy. He's very few public appearances, and he's very puffy around the face. But it may well be that he's also very worried about COVID. As you'll know, all meetings that he conducts with foreign dignitaries are done at the either end of a very long boardroom table. He's just been with the UN Secretary General, who was stuck at the other end of the table. Clearly, Putin is worried about the risk of COVID. He has no confidence in the Russian vaccination program. And so, yes, he is very careful. And he comes out of an industry which specialises in poisonings, as you've already mentioned. So paranoia is built into his DNA already. So he is being super cautious. And ideally, from the point of view of ending the war in Ukraine, it would be great if he could be knocked off by one of his fellow Russians, rather than of ultimately having to leave it to the Americans to do it. I'd much prefer a Russian to do it, either through shooting him or poisoning him.
Oh, hear. And more intel's coming out about America's role in helping Ukraine win the Battle of Kiev. What do you know about it?
So what is happening is that we've got the greatest amount of intelligence cooperation between NATO and a non-NATO country in NATO's history. What the Americans are doing is giving all sorts of information to the Ukrainians about where to evacuate areas or where to deploy their weaponry to shoot down the oncoming Russian planes. This helps to explain why a comparatively small country like Ukraine, 40 million people, have been able to push back so well against 140 million potential Russian invaders. So they've been very much supported by the West, not only through equipment, but also through intelligence. And it's interesting that Lloyd Austin, the US Defense Secretary, is now openly talking about a Ukraine victory. It's been really quite remarkable. A number of us were quite pessimistic. If Putin were to invade, we figured it'd be over and done with very quickly. But here we are a month later, and we're now beginning to talk about a Ukrainian victory over Russia. And clearly, the Western weapons, including some, of course, from Australia, plus the intelligence sharing, which the Americans and others have got, sharing with the Ukrainians to help with their targeting, etc., this has all played into helping Ukraine level the playing field, so to speak.
That Eastern Ukraine bombardment is intensifying, though, isn't it?
Oh, it is, absolutely. And the Russians traditionally, so this has got nothing to do with Putin, the Russians traditionally are called the steamroller. So if you go all the way back to World War I, the plan which the Germans drew up for winning World War I was that they would attack France first, and then they would deal with the Russian threat on the Eastern Front. They said the Russians would take longer to get mobilized, but once they start to mobilize, it will be like a steamroller, and they just roll over everything in front of them. And that's exactly what we're seeing still to this day. Over 100 years later, the Russians are behaving as they traditionally do, using brute force as a way of crushing everything. So the way in which they're destroying Mariupol, for example, is very much in keeping with the Russian style of warfare, just destroying everything, blowing everything up, which means that now they're committing horrendous war crimes. So eventually, if we ever get a good war crime system going, Putin will end up in The Hague, along with Lavrov and a number of other key Russian players.
One can only hope. Dr. Keith Suter, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Love talking to that man. All right, we're going to take well, no, we're not actually, because it's the end of the show. I just wanted it to keep going and going. We've got Rowey Sports Show coming up next. Thank you so much for joining the program, and I look forward to sharing another afternoon with you tomorrow. Have a great afternoon. Stay safe.
Did you know you can get paid for participating in medical research? CMAX is currently seeking healthy men aged